Hello and welcome to the Let's Talk Azure podcast with your host Sam Foote.
And Armstrong.
If you're new here, we're a pair of Azure and Microsoft 365 focused IT security professionals. It's episode 23 of season 4. Alan and I had a recent discussion around Microsoft Ignite 23. If you don't know, Microsoft Ignite is an annual conference hosted by Microsoft centered around technology trends, product innovations, and announcement concerning Microsoft's cloud services, enterprise solutions, and developer tools. Here's what we covered. The latest announcements at Ignite this year, both of our favourite announcements, what the in-person Ignite experience is like, and what MVP-related activities has Alan been up to. We've noticed that a large number of you aren't subscribed. If you do enjoy our podcast, please do consider subscribing. It would mean a lot for us for you to show your support to the show. It's a really great episode, so let's dive in. Hey Alan, how are you doing?
Hey Sam, not doing too bad. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. A bit different location this week, if I'm correct.
Couple of thousand miles, yeah. And time zone differences, yeah.
How is Seattle?
Yeah, it's very good. I haven't really had a chance to explore it like last time when I was over here, but from what I've sort of done here, yeah, it seems very good. Travel was good. Getting from the airport and stuff like that's really good, and hotel's not too bad. So yeah, it's a little bit cold in the mornings and things like that, but it's about sort of the same location, same height in the world as the UK, I think, something like that. Whatever terminology you need for
the current weather conditions are similar. I'll take that.
Yes.
I'll take that.
Yeah, that would done it, would it?
Yeah. No, that's cool. That's cool.
It
So
is.
yeah,
It is 10. It is 10 o'clock at night here. So yeah.
Yeah, we need you back in the UK, Alan, for time zone related issues. That's for sure. I don't think I've ever really realised, how far, how different the time zone is. To be totally honest with you, because you're like, I'm actually messaging you, and as I'm thinking about going to sleep, you're waking up, and yeah, it's completely
and
right.
like now, so, you're waking up, and I'm pretty much going to bed. Yeah. So.
No, that's cool. So yeah, how's your week been so far at Ignite?
Yeah, it's been really good. The venue changed from last year. I think I maybe said that last week. But it's been great. It's been full on. Like I said, I haven't really had a chance to even like check out Seattle. It's pretty much been fly in, sleep, go to Ignite because I was because of some of the stuff I did for my MVP, and then do the 2 days with like a little bit tomorrow or today. Yeah. And yeah, so yes, definitely a lot of walking, definitely a lot bigger and stuff like that over here. So from the event from last year, loads. There's been lots of information come out. It's definitely a key topic for this year.
Well, should we talk about some announcements and talk through what are your sort of main themes and takeaways from this year's Ignite, Alan?
Yeah, so it's definitely the era of AI for sure, and co-pilots. I know we knew about quite a few of them, but now we're getting more detail on how they can help engineers, SOC agents, members of the staff, increase their productivity, kind of do more for less, but in a different way. But yeah, so sort of my main sort of favorite things was coming out was Security Copilot. Again, we kind of knew about it, but we got a lot more detail about what it covers. So it's covering all of the security products, including Intune and things like that. And we got some more insights about it being in line now as well within those products. Once it starts coming into, it's only in early access at the moment, but those glimpses seem very promising. And then a couple of other ones was Defend for Cloud. got a couple of new features. So Defender for API got GA'd, which is great, and we've got some new SKUs there. The attack path that was only for like Azure now can span across AWS and GCP, so you can see attacks across, from one cloud to the next as well, which I thought was pretty awesome. And yeah, the Defender for DevOps got rebranded to DevOps Security, and that's in effect gone into GA because it's based on the GitHub, GitHub Security, I think it's called. And yeah, that's probably the main ones for me. I mean, some of the stuff that came out that doesn't really potentially touch us in a way, but Microsoft creating new chips for the data centers for AI, and them actually creating their own fiber cables, so they can get more throughput through their data centers, which I thought was quite interesting.
I think it's quite. We get these glimpses of like scale, don't we? Right, with like cloud platforms, right? We sit here just like clicking on buttons in the portal, not really thinking about it, and then like these cloud providers, they then turn around and go, "Oh, by the way, we have to make our own chips. Why? Well, because we buy so many of them, and we need them so specialized, right? Like it's crazy to think the scale you have to be at to warrant the investment in your own chips, right? And they've
Yeah, well,
it's crazy.
Yeah, and I can't remember off the top of my head what type of fiber cables they're creating. There's something like hollow air fibers, something like that. I can't remember it, and I've probably butchered it completely there. But
Somebody
Microsoft,
spent millions with the
yes,
marketing or the
yeah,
the product development of that.
but Microsoft are creating their own, and they're the first. They've got the first dedicated factory just spewing fiber cables for them, which is insane.
Yeah, that they need that many of them, right?
And yeah, and it was really interesting to find out that because they said that they've already started deploying the cables, and I was like, okay, cool. It's going to be the US, because it's the first place it would go, and it wasn't. It was the UK, and that surprised me really. I thought it might have been like a new data center somewhere got it because they're putting it in, but they've updated the UK one first. Maybe it's because it was the smallest. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it could be a case of where the SMEs are, maybe where the technology is being developed as well, and also
True.
capacity potentially as well, right? Because we know that well, I always thought it was like resource capacity in UK South, but I don't know. Maybe there's a a multitude of different restrictions
Well,
there.
maybe they're at capacity, and before they put those new AI chips in, they need it for us
Yeah,
to have
that's true.
Copilot and
Well,
stuff.
that's true. Because I suppose every time you add more infrastructure, you need more throughput, bandwidth, connectivity, don't you? Right. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, I never really. I don't know. I don't. I think I'm personally just detached from that. Like like I said, I just click on the buttons, don't really think about it, and then there is actually, the cloud is just a bunch of oversimplifying it is a bunch of like boxes in a data center somewhere, managed a lot more
Yeah.
you know, um, a lot
Well,
more
that's
sophistication management of them, right? An
yeah,
orchestration
but
of them,
that's why you go as PAS and stuff, don't you? Though, because you don't have to
Yeah,
worry about it.
yeah, exactly. And we're seeing like, oh no, we do have to worry about it. So yeah, let's create chips and
Yeah.
new technologies of fiber cable. Yeah, nah, it's crazy, isn't it?
But yeah. So what about you then, Sam? What's been some of your sort of key or favorite announcements from the last couple of days?
Um, I think for me, there is a lot of. To me, there's a lot of incremental announcements, right? I don't want to undermine like the messaging of Ignite because I think the amount of innovation and new development that Microsoft puts out is insane, right? Like, I don't think we can fault them for the investment that they make into their platforms, right?
No,
Particularly.
and I think they said it was like 100 plus like
Yeah, 100.
enhancements and new features and things like that. So I mean, in a year kind of thing, maybe even like 6 months, probably, to be fair.
And what I kind of feel like is that a lot of the announcements are generally like GA, you know, or really, what's the best word of putting it? Well thought out and useful changes to a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Um, like pragmatic sort of operational changes, right? One Azure Chaos Studio is now generally available. We did an episode on that um, in this season, actually, episode 11. Go and check it out. It was in preview when we spoke about it, so that's quite good timing actually for us, to be totally honest with you. So yeah, Chaos Studio, go and check that out. That's definitely a great product. Um, you can now start and stop Azure SQL vCore instances to save money, which I thought was interesting.
Oh,
Apparently, you couldn't do that before. Been in preview for a year, so yeah, it's now generally available. Um, Microsoft Fabric is now generally available. There's been a big push to sort of unify a lot of the data solutions in and around Azure, creating, I'm going to butcher it, but creating sort of a singular data plane is the way that I sort of
I
see that.
think they're calling it
Sorry.
One Lake, aren't they? Is that
Yeah, and
right?
there's a one lake, like the next iteration of that, I suppose, is the way that I saw that. I haven't really delved into that announcement yet too much, but I don't know when Fabric was announced. Was it last Ignite? I can remember talking about it. I haven't actually delved into it yet.
Um,
Was it? Is it been
was it then or was it
private preview?
Inspire
Might have been
kind of
Inspire,
time?
mightn't it? Yeah.
Um, yeah,
No.
that does seem
So
interesting
yeah,
with the whole mirroring data as well, so you can have it all in one place.
yeah, yeah, and really that is it. We see that time and time again with organizations' data, right? It being siloed into different places. Now, you know, having it all in one place is very like utopian vision, I'd say, right? Because
Hmm.
the actual, you know, practicality of migrating this data to a single location for an organization is, you know, I don't know if
Especially,
that's
yeah,
practical, right?
it's,
But
especially
yeah,
if it's
sorry,
like
go on.
terabytes of data and things like that.
Terabytes of
Yeah.
data in proprietary databases, yeah,
Yeah.
right. You might just be beholden to your application developers and your system guys. um I don't want to focus on people, actually. No, it's more the technology than anything else, right? but um but yeah, being able to mirror data into different locations is, I think, really powerful. So yeah, no, I think one other announcement that I thought was interesting is um is there is new sort of confidential computing SKUs on both AMD and, I believe, on the Intel side as well. Um, Now, when we did our episode on confidential computing, it was
Hmm.
all Intel driven. Um, so I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to do a recap on like new AMD um, capability. I'm going to have to look at that and see if there's actually any, from the episode might still stand, it might still be valid, but we need to also see if there's any difference in that, in that offering,
Yeah.
basically. Um, there are new SKUs. There's always new SKUs. There's new. I believe the new AMD confidential SKUs are in line with a new AMD SKU being announced at this time, Genoa or Epics, I believe. So it's all sort of coming in one area. We're also getting a confidential VM with NVIDIA H100 GPUs. I didn't even know if you could get H100 GPUs. I thought they were like being scalped on eBay by enterprises. It might be the A100.
Well,
Can't
did
remember.
you?
I don't.
I, d-
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I don't know if one of the bits that you seen was that they built their AI, their between Microsoft and Nvidia, they built their AI twin supercomputers, and they are full of obviously a lot of Nvidia hardware, and apparently they put it against Forrester, and it's something like it wasn't even at full capacity, and it was third in the world as a supercomputer, and they're like, we didn't even like put it at its full strength, and it's third.
We plowed so many GPUs into the smallest space we could to train and run our AI models. We inadvertently had more computing than a small country, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an arms race, isn't it? An AI absolute arms race, right? Buy every single GPU you possibly can. Could you imagine being an account manager at Nvidia at the moment? Like, I don't I don't want to simplify people's jobs, but that must be a great gig to have at the moment, to be totally honest with you, right? 100%. Um, yeah, what else was there? I'm trying to I'm trying to think about new bits. I'm trying to actively dodge Copilot, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Um, I I'm just personally yet to see the true capability in action. I'm not saying it's not there whatsoever, but it's not an area that I'm a particular like SME in, if that makes sense. So is there any sort of Copilot, any of the Copilot related news that you'd like to cover, Alan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Copilot went GA on the 1st of November, the Microsoft 365 one. And seeing, so one announcement was probably the AI Studio, where you can, in effect, build your own co-pilots using ChatGPT, etc., and build your conversation flows and things like that. So you can talk back to your Fabric one lake to get your data, etc., and kind of train it. So it was definitely interesting in that sense. That as soon as that happened, I was thinking, well, because in effect, you could build documents based on data, and you just say, I need to talk about this, this, and this, and it's if you've got something that's pre-canned, it basically write it out for you. That seemed pretty powerful in itself from that sort of thing. I mean, they were using it to sort of ask questions like, what's the delivery time with this supplier? And then it would go off and go and check all the orders and when they got delivered. So they could say, oh, the mean 86% of the time they were on time, kind of thing, just like within seconds, minutes, kind of thing, which I thought was
It,
amazing.
has it gone GA? Because wasn't AI Studio already there?
AI Studio's gone GA now. It's a new one. I think they've
Yeah.
upgraded it.
Right. Okay. Because I was a bit confused about the announcement. It was kind of like I felt like it was more of a re-announcement, but it wasn't pitched as like it's now gone GA, I don't think. Because I've used it well, I looked at it about, I don't know, 2 months ago, I think. But I wasn't looking at it in the way of like generating my own co-pilot, so to speak, or my own models. It was more for storage of your own models and actually operationalizing them. So, you would train your own model, like you build a model yourself, and then you'd
Mm.
upload it to AI Studio to then like operationally plug it into your day-to-day services, basically,
Yeah,
and
so
have a
so
place
this
to run
wasn't
it.
necessarily building the learning models. It was more around if it's kind of building your, I guess, your generative AI conversation. That if they ask this, then this is kind of the data you need to look at, kind of thing. So it's not
Got it.
like, so you're saying, if they're asking about like HR data, then you go to this place where all our HR documentation is, and be as generic as that, and then the co-pilot will then
Got it.
understand
Okay.
that he needs to
Yeah.
go there, kind of thing. So
Okay. So more new capability in that space, I'd probably say, right? Like a generative AI layer on top of AI Studio, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Um, what is do you think that's what Defender, I know, Microsoft 365 Copilot is doing?
Yeah. So basically, in effect, so Microsoft 365 Copilot is in effect there, and it's reading your data. It's talking to Microsoft Graph, to see the data that you have access
Yeah.
to,
Okay.
and that's
Yeah.
its grounding. I think that's how their terminology is. The grounding of um, Microsoft 365 Copilot, non enterprise, as the SKU is the internet grounding. So it's basically, you can generate your data, um, your response from the internet kind of thing, and then when you go enterprise level, then it talks to it's in your context kind of thing. So
Defender for APIs is GA,
yes,
which is cool. I
yeah,
thought that was
that's interesting in itself.
yeah, I know. Yeah. It's got good integrations, right? Considering it's
Well,
quite a
and
complex subject. Hmm.
Purview as well built in, so you can see your data, what type of data is being sent to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's the observability is just increasing day by day, isn't it? Right? You know, I wonder if that's where a lot of the gaps have been. Oh, I've got X workload and I don't have visibility of it, so it's just a case of just connecting everything into your you know data security platform. Aka Purview.
and quite a lot of developers do use hopefully they use API Manager, but they use APIs, don't they, to
Yeah,
communicate between
correct.
the
Yeah.
different services. So with an API Manager, they're in effect reading what's going through, then having something to feed into it to check it.
Yeah, and from my experience, like deploying APIs, is it like everybody gets really focused on the tech, right? And then you'll go to put it live, you'll talk to like a whoever's responsible for IT or software platforms. They'll give you like the technical green light, and then you'll have to pass through a gate of compliance, legal ops, something like that. And I'm not singling out those people; they are just the people that carry that risk in the organization. And then you have to go through that song and dance of what are you sharing, how are you sharing it, like how do you retain, like there's party agreements there that need to be ironed out and understood, processing requirements X, Y, and Z, right?
Tracking,
um
auditing, and all that. Yeah.
yeah, right. Prove to me you don't send credit card information to a third party. I don't know, I can't do that. Oh, but now you can. Right. So I think that's you know those conversations aren't that harsh. I've dramatized it, but the point still stands is I think for anybody deploying APIs, it's really important to understand the data that is flowing in and out of them, right? Because sometimes they can be forgotten about because they aren't like user facing, are they? People don't see it like day to day.
No.
um yeah. What else have I got? Lots around AI in there. there's there's not a huge amount more on the actual Azure infrastructure side. There is a new um, IoT operations um, offering. Um, it's supposed to be a management plane um, in and around IoT, because the IoT stack in Azure, I suppose, is quite siloed, and um, and point are they now point solutions? I don't know. But I added this to my must read more list, basically, because I think because IoT is an interesting one for end to end, right? Because a lot of IoT is not disconnected, but it is disconnected for like good reason, right?
Yeah.
um but with that comes like challenge, because if it is disconnected, how do you I say disconnected, like one step removed, right? Might not be air
Yeah.
gapped, but one step removed. Yeah, purdued like down to, segmented off, right? So, and it's interesting because when I talk to some customers about IoT, some are okay with cloud connected visibility, of them, right? What I haven't seen in like the enterprise is like an actual cloud managed IoT device, if that makes sense, where you're using IoT Hub or something like that connected like directly into Azure. That's probably my naivety and my experience with IoT, right? But so it's interesting that they would add more sort of management capability into the IoT space. I get why they've done that. They've obviously done that in the server space with Arc, right? Bringing a
Yeah.
lot of that like on-prem and IoT. You'll probably never be able to bring that to the cloud, right? Because your IoT devices are always local, right? That's just
Yep.
the topology that is there. So what I'm wondering is you know I do also see some organizations with very like scrappy IoT, like IoT's sort of been distributed across like a manufacturing site or their organization because of sort of digital innovation and transformation in that space. Maybe it's not really been thought about. It's not that well connected. Um, so them offering a way to manage these devices or a holistic, management plane could be good. Um, I'll definitely check it out because I do have a bunch of um, in my dev environment. I do have a bunch of devices. So what I've been sort of meaning to do is to turn my lab environment into more of a like real IoT environment, if that makes sense. Not just like a couple of, you know, um, actually make, maybe build a Purdue model and actually build that out like properly locally to see how that's actually, done in the real world. Um, so yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what IoT operations, sort of actually brings in basically. Um, because they talked a lot about cloud to edge, but I'm not skeptical. I just when we're talking about the edge, are we talking about Kubernetes clusters and fast food shops, or are we talking actual IoT and OT devices in a manufacturing facility? Like how far can we actually like go? Is my sort of,
Yeah.
the thing I'm thinking about. I'm not saying it won't happen at all whatsoever, but I think I need to understand the risks and also the justification, for doing so.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Um, but yeah, that was pretty much me. There is, as Alan said, there's over 100 announcements. There is the Ignite book of news. So if you don't want to watch all of the, well, you should go and watch all the content, but if you don't want to do that and you want to skim through the updates in your specific area, the book of news is really good to do that because it's all broken down into sort of solution area. Then it gives you the updates. Obviously the content is going to give you a lot more of a deep dive into those areas and give you some practical
Yeah, and the
examples of using them.
visualization of the demos and things like that. Yeah, to
Exactly,
actually
yeah.
see those
Yeah.
scenarios. Yeah.
But if you are only focused in certain areas and you want to look through them, then the book of news will link it in the show notes as well. Um, anything else you think we've missed, Alan?
I mean, you've got the rebrand of Microsoft 365 Defender. We had a rebrand. So it's now called Microsoft Defender for XDR. And there's a announcement of a unified SOC sort of SOC operations unified portal, and in fact enhancing it. So I think that's early access private preview at the moment, but in effect, from the conversations that I've had over here, in effect most of the defenders are going into there. as you could expect. But also you can hook up your Microsoft Sentinel workspace, and then you can do cross querying against your logs that are in Sentinel from your third-party tools against all the defenders. So you can then do that cross-referencing. So you don't have to. The way I see that is you don't have to ingest the Sentinel logs, the Defender logs, into Sentinel, because you can just do that querying in Microsoft Defender, Microsoft
Right. Okay.
Defender for
Yeah.
XDR.
So it's one. Yeah. So it's like one singular portal, basically, right?
And
Which, yeah.
yeah, and in effect, Copilot is going to go into there.
Yeah.
Security
Okay.
Copilot.
Yeah, that makes sense. One thing I did miss, DevBox has got some changes. I don't know if you saw. Pretty basic one to start off with. You can limit the number of dev boxes each developer can create.
Yeah, that's a good one, because I think you
And
can
the
just go
specific
free
wording
reign.
is to, and I'm using air quotes, people won't be able to see that, is help manage costs. So yeah, that's cool. Yeah, new Microsoft hosted networks, Alan. Are they managed VNets basically? If what I saw on the announcement.
Yeah, so
Um,
that's like the Windows 365. So it's basically they're just plain internet in effect,
Got it. Yeah.
and you specify the region you want the dev box to be in, it comes out of there. So it's
Okay.
just Microsoft, yeah, like it says. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and one other announcement that I've seen, which is quite exciting for me personally, is DevBox is going to have pre-configured images for Docker as well.
Mhm.
So you're going to have Docker desktop on your DevBox, which, to be honest with you, that is like the killer feature for me, really, because a lot of local development that I've done is all around Dockerizing that locally before you then migrate to your actual staging production environment. So yeah, that's a very welcome addition, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, the only ones I can think of as well is Windows 365 got it got some management tooling enhancements, so you can do some more management with it. But also the Windows 365 app, the the AVD, the remote app thing has now all gone into a single application now called Windows app. So they kind of split it out, and now it's gone back into one again. So
Nice. No, really good. And yeah, there's a lot more updates and announcements, so definitely do go in and check those out. So Alan, can you tell us about like the in-person Ignite experience? What's the event like this year? Lots of people there. It did sell out, so I assume it was busy.
yes, it was definitely busy. I think it was around 6,000 people plus staff and that. So definitely a lot more people than last year. Not quite as big as the 2019 Ignites in Orlando, because I think there were like 30,000. So still, I guess, relatively small compared to those, but for the space that it was in, that it was crammed.
Yeah.
Um, the hub up on the left, because there's 5 floors of the new Summit Convention Center, and the 5th floor was the hub where all the booths were for all the partners and the Microsoft sort of stands, and it was constantly busy up there, definitely, and all of the workshops were sold out, and all the breakouts and things like that, they went pretty quickly as well. So yeah, it's been really good actually going. For myself, especially partly because I'm because I'm MVP, but I've been able to again now connect with the product groups, the engineers of the products, especially Defend for Cloud. I mean, partly because I was on the booth for that, but just hanging out with those guys, and having the conversations and things like that was really great. And I also got to speak to Chad, who from the Enter ID, external ID sort of team, product team, who asked us to do that episode. So I got to catch up with him as well. So that was really good. But yeah, there was loads of content. I was able to get into the keynote, the main one, because especially last year and definitely 2019, you had no chance of getting into that. I remember it was like by 7:00, I think it opened, and 7:10 it was closed because everyone just went and got
Wow.
their bands, and that was it. So you had no chance of even like getting close to it.
What do you think? That's just because of the like the hall that the actual keynote was done in is relatively sized, correctly for that to happen, or
Yeah, I think they made sure they could get everyone in effect. I mean, it was massive. The
yeah.
the the you know the hall, it is more than a hall, was massive, because there's loads of screens and everything. Yeah, it was sized correctly for the amount of people that they allowed to come, kind of thing. So, but yeah, it was great to be in those. It's great to get to see the products. It was good to see some of the demos and things like that, and ask the questions. It was actually good to get mingling, I guess is the thing, socializing. And I got to talk to other attendees as well. Make some connections there. So a couple of them from the UK, which is quite weird to find. Not weird to find UK people over here, but rarity, I guess, compared to the amount of people and things like that. So, yeah, it was really good. And yeah, it's not quite the same still as Ignite over in Orlando, but it's definitely a lot better, and definitely felt more engaged. The pre-day workshop seemed to go down really well with the attendees.
Do you think that's just because that's another sort of reason because people are flying in, a day or two before anyway, right? It gives them an extra reason to
Yeah,
attend.
yeah, and I think it's also because, well, at least the one that I was in, the attendees found it valuable. It was at the right sort of level, and they went out knowing more and understanding, because it was a security one, understanding what they could potentially do, and then sparks ideas, and then they got up to Hub 5, and then go and challenge the Microsoft teams and the MVPs up there with, well, I've just found out about this and I've just done it, but what does that mean I can do this? It starts those questions, starts building that want to like actually investigate it a bit more, because you've had hands-on of doing some of it. Because some of the attendees had, some of the attendees that like do it day in day out kind of thing, so they like went through the labs pretty quickly, and they found they announced some of the new stuff in those things as well. But some of them had never touched it, and they were starting to do it, and they're like, actually, this is like, why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
This kind of thing.
I noticed that with a lot of people that I talk to, they're licensed for stuff, and then you show them it and how like relatively simplistic it is with a bit of guidance, and they're like
Well,
that exact conversation. Why aren't we using this?
well,
Right.
and with me being on the stand, and in fact, it was my last conversation today. And the gentleman came over to me, and he's like, I don't really have a question for you, but what is Defender for Cloud kind of thing? And I said, okay, what have you got stuff in Azure, AWS, GCP? And he's like, yep, yeah, we have. And I said, okay, do you know like how much of it you've got, how like secure it is? And he's like, we've got some sort of idea. I said, well, Defender, went through the CSPM sort of story and said, by the way, you can start off for free and get that visibility. And he's like, sorry, what? He's like,
It's a trap. It's a trap.
trap. Yeah.
It is a trap. Yeah, I
And
agree.
he's like, and how easy is it to deploy to AWS? And I'm like, well, you kind of just like do this. It's a cloud formation. Went, oh, I do cloud formations. Oh, is it just like that? Okay. And it's like light
Exactly.
bulb. Why the hell haven't I got this turned on? to get started, I said, you know, you do need to probably go up to Defender CSPM because he wanted to do regulatory compliance and do all the other kind of cool stuff with it. But he was like, yeah, if I get started, start seeing stuff, and then I'll just upgrade and start consuming all the rest of it,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So he was, you know,
And
it
if
was
you
my
don't
last
like it,
conversation.
if you
No,
don't
if you
like
don't
it,
like
you
it,
turn
turn
it
it off.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, yeah.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're right. I had the same conversation with somebody about Sentinel, even on the Defender Cloud stand. He's like, you know, we want to go for Sentinel, but you know, and I said, well, barrier to entry is you get a month of 10 gig I think it's 10 gig a day ingestion. I said you can ramp it up. I said then you can ramp it down, and then you can make your decisions, and then you go for it. And so if you don't like it,
Yeah.
you don't cost a lot. You don't have to buy the hardware. You don't have to have the VM running just for it to be,
Yeah.
you know,
And
doing the thing.
all the cloud stuff is like a click away, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right? You know, like as in you don't need to pick your most complicated log sources to start off with, do you? Like you just, get
get
started with it,
get your
get
defenders
comfortable
in
with it.
there and stuff,
Yeah.
and then
Your
start enhancing it. Yeah,
your Entra ID stuff. Right? Do you know what I mean? Like you don't, this yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
It's
and again, people have that. I was having the conversation about the ingestion that's included with Defender for Cloud, and that was blowing people's minds that they could get some free ingestion Sentinel for it and stuff like that. And they're like,
yeah. No, yeah,
so
it's but then I suppose, it is a big it's a massive platform, isn't it, right?
yeah,
We've seen 100 100 updates at one of
at
Microsoft's
least,
event this week, right?
yeah,
Right, yeah. So I think that just puts it into the perspective of the scale, right? Because I talked to some people about the podcast, and they're like, "Are you ever going to run out of stuff to talk about?" I was like, "I don't think so." Why? Because every single, every single announcement that's made you know, is expanding the capability of Azure all the time, right? So I think a lot of the challenge is actually just people even hearing or understanding about things, right? Because there's going to be like loads of stuff that we've missed from this conversation, right? Like without a doubt, it's all
yeah,
new. We're still thinking, but it's also there's stuff that we don't even look at because we don't really. It's not on our critical path, every day, right? So we're not focused on it. Um, but if you imagine an end organization where they've got to manage infrastructure in Azure, their posture management, their on-prem, like their data security, threat protection. Like there's like multiple different buckets, and there's just inside of Microsoft, there's a huge amount of tools that are there that they can use. Right. I suppose the benefit is that the conversation really isn't that the capability isn't there. Right. A lot of the time, the
mm,
conversation is that they didn't know that they could use it or benchmarking it against the current solution they've got. That's a big part of the conversation, right? Because a lot of the times it's like, well, why aren't we using this over X that we're currently paying for, right? That's a lot of the conversations we seem to have. So, um, but yeah, like I just think the investment that, and we're very, security focused, right? But the investment
mm,
that Microsoft are making and continuing to make you know, is because I saw some people saying that it was pretty light on security updates, thingy. But then I think if I look at what's in the preview community and the fact there's a security only, conference now, right? So it's like I think there's definitely enough, right? Like as in it doesn't need to be, groundbreaking every single time, does it? It's got to be incremental, I think, is my main, thing
yeah,
with it.
and there might be some big changes coming that they need time to
Yeah.
developing it out, because I don't think we heard a lot about Defender for Endpoint, only about enterprise IoT being included in E5 licensing now,
Yes.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
true.
But
Yeah.
outside of that, we've not heard anything apart from being out, the unified SOC operation center kind of stuff. But that's Portal kind of related.
And that's only really an efficiency if you're like a MSP, right?
No, it's more around your SOC if you've got an internal SOC as
Well,
well.
that's true, I suppose. Yeah, if you're at that scale, yeah. Okay, yeah, got it. Because it's not multi-customer, is it? I suppose it
It's
could be. No.
the current preview. I don't believe is going to start with it. I don't know. I have to double check
Okay.
that, but
Right.
but yeah, it's more designed for a customer on their tenant to be more
Got it.
efficient now. A managed service could dive into that portal and still be more
Yeah.
efficient. It's just whether.
And is that why the Copilot you think is more customer aligned then? Because it's all going to feed into that one
Well,
thing.
the problem is
The customer
you've got
buys
that.
the optimization.
The security sort of or the not the ethical side of things, but the security of Copilot that it's you can't your data is in your tenant. So
Yeah,
if
exactly.
security
Yeah.
Copilot's
Yeah.
in a MSSP potentially,
Yeah.
you're asking it to feed your data. I don't know. That's one for when we get a chance to have a look at Copilot, security Copilot and its ins and
Yeah.
outs.
Okay. No, that makes a little bit more sense to me. Definitely.
Yeah.
Nice. And so, what have you been up to as an MVP? What's
I
special
just
access have you
it, it,
got, Alan? Now you're
it
an
just hasn't
MVP.
stopped. It hasn't stopped. That's what I
I
mean. I
love
haven't been out in Seattle or anything. So
Convention,
it's just
hotel room, convention, hotel room, right?
well that or after party come back sort of thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
after party. Oh, sounds
So
terrible.
so for me coming over, I proctored the pre-day workshop with Rod Trent, and Morton and Dean was a couple of the MVPs, and that was the security one. So that was really interesting. It was like a 5-hour workshop, 1 till 6, I think it was, and that went really well. Helping out the attendees to when they had like technical problems, because there's a few technical problems occasionally, but also helping them like go through like what they were doing as well,
Yeah.
explaining it, answering questions, things like that. So it was really good, and like I said, from the feedback that Rod was asking, at the time, people were saying, "Yeah, this is great. This is a lot better." I really got value out of it. So that was really good. And then, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I did a couple of shifts on the Defend for Cloud booth and talked about Defend for Cloud and occasionally other defenders when they came over. And so yeah, that was that. And then someone, Thomas from Microsoft, got in contact with us, didn't he, from through the podcast. And then I got the honor of doing a interview with Yuri, from the Microsoft Defender for Cloud product group, live at it recorded at Ignite.
Nice.
So that was yesterday. So I think it's going on to his YouTube channel, because it was video as well. It wasn't like podcast. YouTube. I think they said in sort of December, early December, I think it was. So
Okay.
so watch that space.
Nice.
That was sort of a bit of a surprise kind of thing, but it was cool. So yeah. And then there was a security after party, and yeah, that was good to go to. And then tonight the celebration was on, the celebration for the Ignite. So I came on a little bit early, but that was at the Pacific Pacific Science Center. And yeah, that was really good as well. So yeah, it's been really good to catch up with teams, other MVPs, and that, and make build some connections there, because this year's been, well, I haven't had a full year yet of being MVP, so just starting to build those like connections and relationships across the world now, and then to help do collaboration and things like that. So yeah, it's been good.
Nice. Seems like a action-packed week. What are you up to? I'm going to say today, because my today is your tomorrow. Is that right? Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it is for
what
now.
are you up to tomorrow?
So it'd just be probably packing up and heading home. I'll probably catch I might not go to the the center itself, but I'll probably catch the keynote. I think it's a keynote today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I might catch that in the hotel, just so I could pack ready and then head off to the airport, and then an overnight flight, and then back over on Saturday. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. No. Well, it sounds yeah, action packed. I've seen a lot of you know, what's the best way of putting it? There's a lot of social media buzz, which is good. Do you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
seems like people,
But
more people, being in one place at the same time, just breeds that level of relationship building, back to normal.
yeah, there was lots of swag, lots of stickers, backpack, t-shirt, and stuff like that. And because I was classed as a speaker slash being on the stands, I got a hoodie as well.
Got a
So
hoodie.
yeah,
Oh wow. Can't wait to see that. That's it.
and
Like conference swag is like really what gets people, you know.
yeah, and at the after party as well, if you went to it, you got a beanie with Microsoft Security on it, and it's pretty cool
Oh.
actually. Sorry.
Pretty cool. Yeah. I love it. No, I'm jealous of your Microsoft security beanie, not gonna lie. Nice. Like it. Cool. Right. Let's let you go to sleep and I'm gonna start my day, Alan. So yeah. Thanks for dialing in remote. It's worked quite well actually, to be totally honest with you. I thought it was gonna be, a bit more chaotic, but no, it's been all right, I think.
Yeah, it seems all right. It's not there's not much lag or anything. So I know we shouldn't see that in this sort of day and age, but you don't know, do you?
No, exactly.
Um,
Next app's gonna next episode, sorry, is gonna be Azure Container Apps. So episode 24. We were due to do that one this week, but we thought a recap and a around Ignite was a better topic for this week. So yeah, we're just going to shift that into next week, basically.
Yep, cool. Okay, so did you enjoy this episode? Please consider leaving a review on Apple or Spotify. It really helps us reach out to other people like yourself. If you have any specific feedback or suggestions, we have a link in the show notes to get in contact with us.
Yep, and if you've made it this far, thanks very much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah, thanks all. Bye.